Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host, Lex, and I am joined by my co-host,
Dan.
So, we are a weekly...
video game news podcast.
Exactly, Dan. Thank you.
Looked like you're in a little bit of trouble there.
Just had to formulate the words. So, we broadcast Fridays at 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. on Ship It Radio.
Shipit.net.
You can listen on the website, or you can download a playlist file, listen in your iTunes. As long as you got that internet connection, it's all good, super easy. So, we've also got a Facebook, so check that out, like it's on Facebook.
Yeah, it's just Don't Copy That Floppy on Facebook.
Search it.
It's really easy to find.
Sometimes we post articles that we talk about.
Yep. Games we're excited for that are releasing soon. We'll post little updates and things like that.
I think maybe in the future we can start posting reviews and stuff on there.
I did one earlier this week just for the heck of it, because I wanted people to know about a couple games that were on the way in the next few days. So, yeah, we'll probably do that more.
Plus all my sweet graphics.
Alex, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today? We have a lot of stuff to talk about today. So, we got stuff about Oculus purchasing or not purchasing, but getting a design team to work for them. We have a lawsuit with Nintendo. We've got the
drama at Capcom.
An
interesting and kind of scary thing about some former Last Guardian devs.
Also, a really interesting article about esports, professional gaming.
Yep. Some general video game news of some upcoming releases, announcements. And then we're going to end off with a little game review by me of a game that I beat in one night so that I could review it for the podcast today.
All those feels in one period of time.
Oh, it was heavy. And then we always end off with a little look at what kind of games are coming out in the next week, which varies in how exciting it is. Last week was very exciting.
There are like one or two interesting things that are coming out
some stuff to mention. So let us get started. Do you want to take us into this one, since this is an article you found?
Yeah, so in an article that was published on Polygon on, I believe, the 24th, we find out that the Oculus VR team has acquired the engineering team that helped create the Xbox 360 controller.
So my immediate thought when I heard this was, that's a super comfy controller.
Yeah, that's a great standard for controllers. Like, when that came out, really I was like, oh, so good.
Yeah.
So this is the Carbon Design Group, and in addition, now they don't just make game controllers. This is actually,
which I didn't even know there was this much going on behind this controller.
I know, right?
Like, I just figured it was some guys at Microsoft who were like, oh, this seems good.
No,
and then it was good.
Yeah, it turns out they went to a third party who's like super awesome at making stuff,
and it shows.
So yeah, they've made like, I had it here a second ago. Oh, okay, so they make they also have made computer mice, which we kind of expected, but they also make air purifiers and medical imaging equipment, among other things.
Fancy.
Yeah, so they know how to design devices, I guess.
Yes, yeah. Clearly they're a competent engineering firm.
Yeah.
Of some kind.
So I'm really happy that we've got Oculus VR.
So what do you think they're going to be... So they're working on the Crystal Cove prototype headset,
which is just the most recent Oculus headset that they've shown
That's just
off.
the most recent incarnation of their thing.
It's like the smallest so far. It's still huge though.
Okay. So they got these guys on basically just to design the actual Oculus headset now that they have the technology also?
Well, no, I think they're designing the controller.
Oh, to go with it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't think that that's how that was going to work. I thought you used whatever controller or console you wanted, and that the Oculus Rift headset was compatible with everything else.
I don't know, but
I was under that impression, but I could be entirely wrong.
I believe that, so what the article is saying here is that the Oculus Rift team has hired these guys to design something for, or rather, they've hired these guys.
Right.
So what does it say? Oculus says it's been working with Carbon for nearly a year on multiple unannounced projects.
Okay.
So my assumption was like, oh, they're designing a controller to work specifically with the Oculus.
Right.
But maybe they're actually designing a headset. It could be either way, I'm not really sure.
I mean, because we still don't have any kind of release date for the Oculus even.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So all of this news about it is still kind of like...
nebulous,
okay,
yeah.
Like, so what's this mean? Why do we care? When's it coming? Like... And the Oculus has been around at trade shows and conventions for, like, to be tried out by just the general public. But many people still haven't used one at all.
Well, yeah, because if you're not getting to that convention, like, then you're not going to be...
Right.
Or, like, if you're... I mean, they sell the dev kits, right? So companies can work with them, so there are certainly plenty of them around.
I'm just still kind of... I don't know about this whole thing with Oculus Rift. Like, because people say it's amazing, but I guess it's one of those, like, you have to experience it to believe it things.
Yeah.
Because I just don't see how it can make it that much more amazing. And I also worry that it would be kind of like 3D, where it, like, it's neat for the first 10 minutes, and then it loses its
charm.
Its charm really fast.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean... We'll see when it finally comes out, I suppose.
We're gonna.
And it also depends on how much support it ends up getting when it's finally released.
I think it's just been
from developers.
Yeah, it's just been hyped so hard for
that's
long.
That's where I'm coming from right here.
Yeah.
We've been hearing news about it for years and years and years now, and everyone's been talking about how it's amazing, it's going to be the next big thing. Like, it's going to completely change video games, and it's still not out.
And this was something that, this was something that I commented on last week.
It can't do any of that stuff if it never actually comes out.
Yeah.
Like,
this is something I commented on last week when we were talking about the last of the press conference analysis for E3.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, Sony showed off their Project Morpheus headset, but they didn't talk about any AAA titles under development for it or give us any launch window or release date.
Right.
So it's just like, I don't know, it's in the future. I guess it really is the future of gaming, Dan, because it's always in the future.
It'll always be the future of gaming.
Forever.
That shining beacon just out of reach.
The holy grail of gaming, you'll
for
never
all
attain
eternity. Oh no.
One thing I found super interesting as a last thing on this article, though, that it said at the very end, was it mentioned Facebook plans to acquire Oculus VR for $2 billion, which the two companies announced in March.
Yeah.
Now, we knew they had announced that. We talked about it on the show, and that was a big deal. But what I didn't realize is the way that sentence is worded, it says Facebook plans to acquire, which means that deal is not finished yet.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a mistake on the journalist's part, but I feel like it wasn't.
They linked back to the article where they mentioned that.
Which I then did not reread to confirm that, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean... They probably just haven't finalized it yet.
Yeah,
is all it is. They're still negotiating.
It's going to happen, but the paperwork hasn't gone through.
I'm kind of assuming that that's what the deal is.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, Oculus Rift.
But
always and forever on the horizon.
And speaking of controller design companies... Segway.
So, Philips has apparently been in... The company, Philips, has been, not like Mr. Phillips or something.
I'm not talking about a guy named
Phillips. Some guy, has been in a lawsuit, locked in a lawsuit with Nintendo for a bit now, regarding the motion technology used for the Wii and the Wii U, claiming that the Dutch technology company is claiming that they hold the patents. Hold patents which Nintendo is infringing
now,
upon.
The patents were specifically for... like wireless motion technology, I think.
They were very vague.
So
patents, as far as I know.
Yeah. So if the name Philips sounds familiar to you, it should be because it's printed on the top of all of your light bulbs. That's primarily what Philips makes.
Right.
And they make some other electronics, but you know what they don't make?
Video games.
Or video game controllers.
Now, way back in the day, I'm going to bring up a certain little video game console that I know you know about, and I know that many of our listeners probably know about, the Philips CDI console.
What?
A certain console which was home to everybody's favorite Legend of Zelda trilogy.
Oh, that was their console that those came out on.
That was the Philips CDI.
I forgot that they were the ones that made
by
that.
Philips, which understandably crashed and burned.
Excuse me, Princess.
That's the one. I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos. So, I actually just thought of that just now, because we were saying they didn't make video game consoles. I'm like, they did, though. But that was way back.
So they have a history of screwing over Nintendo.
Pretty much.
Man, Nintendo must hate them at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Miyamoto must just be, like, stewing in rage right now while he plays the Star Fox game none of us can see yet. It's all that helps him. All that helps him ease the pain. So, yeah, so that almost just makes this extra weird to me.
Ah, jeez.
Is this like spite from Philips from failing years ago and seeing Nintendo succeed?
Every 10 years, Philips just comes along and kicks Nintendo in the face.
Seriously. So, you and I talked about this beforehand, before the podcast, that we thought that this might just be a cash grab.
Oh, I definitely think it's a cash grab. I think there's nothing more to it than that.
Because given how vague the patents are, and given that it's just kind of seemingly came out of nowhere, they're literally just trying to kick Nintendo while they're down. And I think because we know Nintendo's not doing great financially right now.
I think that it's not so much trying to kick Nintendo while they're down. I think it's a cash grab in the sense that like this suit was probably brought forward a number of years ago when the Wii was at its height.
Right.
So that Philips looked at Nintendo and said, man, you guys are making money hand over fist with this console, and we can figure out a way to steal some of it from you.
Right, so now that's all happening.
Yeah.
So the important thing is that in the UK, Nintendo has lost this lawsuit.
No, I think it was like 2 of the 3 counts.
Right.
So they weren't guilty of everything.
Yeah.
But most things.
But the UK, whichever judge presided over this, definitely was in favor of Philips' side.
Oh, this is also a great example of how confusing international law is.
Oh yeah.
So you've got Nintendo, a Japanese company, and Philips, which is actually a Dutch company,
which I didn't even know.
And the patents were taken out by Philips under U.S. law. But in the UK is where the trial is actually going on.
Yeah.
So, like, what? What is going on?
So the Triton Tech of Texas also accused Nintendo of infringing on patents to the Federal Appeals Court earlier this month as well.
Oh, man.
But that was dismissed.
Yeah.
So now everybody's trying to get in on this.
I'm just try and take a piece of Nintendo.
This article is from the 23rd of June, by the way. This was a Polygon article that we're pulling this info from. Nintendo... So Nintendo's going to appeal this whole thing still.
Yeah.
As well. And you mentioned that you think that Philips might just try and get them to do a settlement.
Yeah, because...
But they're going to want a lot of money, and Nintendo doesn't have a lot of money.
Not anymore.
To settle.
That's the problem. So there was the original penalty that Philips was sort of levying against Nintendo if they had been found guilty, which they were, was that they would have to stop sales and production of the Wii U. So they would essentially just destroy the console. Right. Now, because, as we said, Nintendo lost, if they fail on their appeal, then the thing, and like nobody tried to do anything else beyond that, then the idea would be that would just go into effect. That then they wouldn't be able to manufacture any more Wii U's, and they wouldn't be able to sell any more Wii U's.
Right.
And I mean, technically that's a little dependent on the judge, but if they lost 2 of the 3 counts, that's probably what he would rule with.
Right.
But what I think is that's not going to happen. What's probably going to happen, even if Nintendo loses their appeal, which I hope they don't, but what's probably going to happen is that Philips is just going to say, hey, we'll stop bothering you about this if you just give us a big pile of money.
Right, because right now, according to another article about this on WCCFtech.com, I don't even know this website, but according to this article, and I have seen this stated a few other places, Philips is actually demanding, is specifically demanding right now the ban on Wii U and Wii consoles being sold in the United States. which seems utterly ridiculous to me.
Don't worry, they went to Chinese market. They'll be fine.
Yeah, right? But that seems completely ridiculous, so I think you're probably right. They're going for that right now so that they can backpedal and just be like, well, give us some money.
Yeah, and you gotta think, like, why did Philips do this in the first place? Because they wanted money. So what are they gonna end up doing?
So they're just going in strong, and they're gonna back off a little bit and get their money.
Unless they're secretly developing another CD console. That they want to use motion control.
I'm sure they're definitely using CDs for it nowadays, too.
Oh, definitely.
Laserdisc. Let's make a Laserdisc console.
That would be the best. Game stores would be a cinch.
So good.
Man, you can get ice cream all over it, it's fine. I gotta show you that video later. Maybe I'll link it on our Facebook.
Okay, please do. I think you should.
Ice cream Laserdisc.
Ice cream Laserdisc.
Devo's in it.
Get ready.
It's amazing.
Get ready for it, everyone. So, yeah. Nintendo, I feel like bad news just keeps piling up for Nintendo lately.
I feel so, yeah, like...
If any company in the game industry does not deserve all this stuff, it's them.
Oh, they don't. No, not at all.
Not in the slightest. This is really upsetting.
All they do is make whimsical childhood
video
game characters. They just try to make video games
so people have fun.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
They want to make wholesome products, and they want to try and be innovative.
Yeah. Is that so wrong?
And I think this really speaks a lot to the fact that copyright laws are super ridiculous bogus.
Yeah.
Because you can put out a copyright on something that you don't sell and have not necessarily invented.
And then in the event that anybody does anything with it, you can sue the pants off of them. And that's messed up.
And you can get really vague with it. I mean, this is actually... There have been a lot of different cases.
So much of it is just semantics and, BS thrown around. It's ridiculous. Let's talk about something else. It's not... Or we should do a little...
If you just tuned in, and you're wondering where your chiptune music is, and you're thinking, this was a spoken word chiptune? I don't understand.
That should be a thing. How would that wouldn't work?
Beep. Beep. That's what that would be. There's a bunch of people doing that.
Okay.
I guess.
Let's get to it.
Okay, but anyway, so if you're tuning in, you're confused... What you're hearing right now is a weekly video game news podcast called Don't Copy That, Floppy. Got your hosts here, Lex and Dan.
Yep.
And yeah, we're Fridays at 7 to 8, and we talk about video game news, we do game reviews, talk about upcoming releases. It's good stuff, so please keep listening.
Yeah. And go to our Facebook page.
Oh yeah, like us on Facebook.
Don't Copy That, Floppy on Facebook. So our next article, now that we've finished up with Nintendo, is about Capcom.
Oh, Capcom.
Capcom, a company that many people have mixed feelings about, who I kind of like.
Oh, I like them.
Because they haven't wronged me with franchises of theirs that I enjoy. That's not true.
Immediately revoke the statement.
Never mind. Capcom, burn in hell.
I mean, actually, the greatest segue for this would have been, since we were talking about how Nintendo is facing a lot of sad days, Capcom is now facing
a lot of sad days. I don't care. They ruined Devil May Cry.
They did. Man, they did.
They really did. I was going to say they haven't ruined any of my games of theirs that I like.
They've been consistently good with Street Fighter, but guess what? They won't be anymore.
Yeah. And
as we'll get to at the
Hunter.
end.
So they at least still have Monster Hunter.
So if you're not familiar with the video game company Capcom, you probably don't know anything about video games. I don't know why you're listening to the show.
Yeah, that would be baffling if you have no idea who Capcom is.
Just go play with a stick and a hoop or something.
Hoop and stick.
Yeah, go get a hoop and stick.
Go get hoop and stick or ball and cup.
Ball and cup might be a little too advanced for you. But no, so Capcom is a Japanese company. They're famous for stuff like the Street Fighter
They're
series.
A very big developer and publisher of many different games. Street Fighter, Mega Man, old stuff.
They do Sonic? Or is that, or am I thinking of someone else? Oh, Sega, duh. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
I know.
Telling people listening you don't know anything about video games. Look who doesn't know about video games now.
This guy.
This guy thinks Sonic made by Capcom. It'd probably be good if it was made by Capcom.
I know, that's the difference.
So yes, Capcom has fallen on hard times, and has abandoned its defense plan against a stock takeover.
Now, this is in an article from June 17th from Polygon again. We're citing Polygon all over the place today.
It's better than IGN.
It's true. So they announced, as you said, they no longer have their defense against stock takeover.
So they could be bought out.
So yeah, the idea is that with stock stuff, if you can buy a controlling share of the stock, like the majority share of the stock, right. So you own more stock than anybody else does, any of the shareholders or the company itself, then you can control the company.
Right.
And a lot of companies obviously don't want that to happen because they want to have autonomy. They don't just want to be bought off.
Yeah, they want to have free control over what they want to do.
Yeah, so they put these sort of fail-safes in order so that only a certain number of their stocks can be sold before there's a cutoff, so that you can't buy the majority share.
Right.
And yeah, but you have to like renew those things legally.
Yeah.
And Capcom did not do that.
And now initially a lot of people were talking about this, like, is someone going to buy Capcom? Like, what's going to happen here? Why did they choose to do this? Stuff like that. And this article says that Yoshinori Ono, who is the Street Fighter guy,
the series executive producer
and the head of consumer games development, has resigned from his position,
which came like
at
a couple days
Vancouver.
Before, so it was basically the same time as
which is kind of ominous.
It's very foreboding
because this guy was pretty much the last. As I recall, the last of the bigwig guys at Capcom. There's a number of other guys who were there as well who've left and done other things. Shinji Mikami, who's a Resident Evil guy.
That was a big series that Capcom did.
Resident Evil. Shinji Mikami left and is now at Platinum. A lot of their old guard game developers and creators have left. And the company's been shaken up a lot in the past few years with like changes in staff.
Yeah, and there was. I had looked at a couple different articles on this, and one of them sort of had alluded to the idea that there was a shareholder meeting recently, and then this decision came like right out of that.
Yeah.
So the reasoning for it might be that the shareholders were just like, we kind of want someone to buy us out because we're kind of sick of owning stock in this company.
I'm curious too. It says Ono resigned.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if he was maybe fired.
Well,
they did it more gracefully by letting him resign.
That's one of the interesting things about the corporate and the media world, right?
Yeah.
Is that you can be pulled in by your boss and said, like, listen, for the good of the company, you need to resign.
And now,
which is he's firing you.
As a Japanese company as well, Japan is all about being humble and polite and not making a big ruckus about stuff. So that would surprise me even less if that was the case with Ono, that they just decided they did not like him being the head of things anymore. They did not like how he was running the company, and they decided they wanted him gone. I'm sure the guy will have no trouble getting picked up by another studio or company.
Not at all.
But at the same time, it's like, really, guys? Like, this dude's like, maybe he didn't want to stay at the company. If he actually resigned, then maybe it was just he couldn't stand being there anymore. But in the event that he did, like, this is one of your oldest, most reliable dudes.
Yeah, see that, when I saw this article...
From a business standpoint, I guess maybe he wasn't ideal.
Yeah, maybe not.
From the stockholders' perspective.
I think that...
I'm making a lot of speculative statements right now. Total speculation, everybody, about all this stuff with Ono.
Speculation warning.
Do not take it as fact.
But no, that it was probably one of the most interesting things I found about this article was the little blurb at the end that said, "Oh yeah, this dude also resigned."
Yeah, because he's not just like some random guy.
Yeah, he's like super important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's been speculation as to whether one of the big video game companies will gobble up Capcom and then make them a first-party studio.
Right.
So the idea of one of the big three taking them. And there was an argument made that I read about Microsoft maybe wanting to buy them because then they might theoretically do better in Japan.
Yeah.
But then I also read that, like, it might not be necessarily, like, legal for a foreign company to buy a Japanese company.
Right.
So, but I don't know how true that is, because then I tried to find things to, like, back up that, and I couldn't find anything.
Capcom's got a pretty good partnership with Nintendo going right now already.
Yeah, but we know Nintendo doesn't have a lot of money right now, and is only going to hemorrhage more during this lawsuit.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because, Monster Hunter's found its home on Nintendo consoles at this point, which is great. And especially in Japan for Nintendo. Because that game's huge.
And that's why I think that if Nintendo were in a better way right now, I would be like, yeah, they probably will buy Capcom. They should buy Capcom.
Combination. You combine with the people at both of those studios, there'd be some amazing stuff coming out of there.
Mega Man's already going to be in the new Smash game.
Exactly. They've got so much going on. What is this?
But no, I don't think that's going to happen.
Resident Evil 4 was on the GameCube before anything else. There's much going on.
It's good on the GameCube.
It was. Resident Evil 4 is good on whatever you play it on. That game's just good.
But yeah, so that's why I'm thinking Nintendo's probably not going to, is because of how bad they're in an economic way. So Sony might, just because it would be a useful thing for them to acquire.
Yeah,
and they probably have the money.
More stuff right now too. Let's face it, every company's kind of on thin ice right now, financially, for the most part. All these gaming companies.
Yeah.
All the news I see about them lately is money problems. We didn't make enough. We're posting losses. It's just, it's not a good time.
But damn, Watch Dogs was the biggest selling new
IP of all time.
It always comes back to Watch Dogs.
I would love to put
every episode.
Maybe now that I can get it on my PC and play it in the good mode.
Play it in good mode?
Play it in E3 mode.
That'd be great if on the mod you go into the options and it was graphics options, good mode, on off.
That's basically what it was. Because it just said E3 version, E3 demo on or off. And E3 demo is the good version. Oh
no.
I don't want to talk about Watch Dogs anymore.
No.
So Capcom, best of luck to you. You've made some amazing games. You've made some very bad choices with some of your IPs.
You won't make a new Mega Man game, so honestly, whatever happens to you,
I kind of hope you never make another Devil May Cry after that last one that you gave to Ninja Theory.
Oh.
That was a great idea. God. Hideki Kamiya, this is just a fun little aside. Hideki Kamiya, who now one of the heads of Platinum, and creator of the first Devil May Cry game, not the others.
Okay.
Hideki Kamiya was asked, I saw someone ask him on Twitter what he thought of Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry game, and all Kamiya responded with was, ha ha ha, which I thought was all that really needed to be said. So, not great, Ninja Theory. Here's another thing about former people from other studios and dev teams. Some devs from The Last Guardian left to form an indie studio called Friend or Foe. They already have 2 games on the way. Now, the newly formed studio is just a team of 5 people, and they're based in Tokyo. These guys have very interesting names. We've got Ivar Dahlberg.
Nice.
Rasmus Deguchi.
Nice.
Thomas Lilia.
Nice.
Rui Mad Dog Guerrero.
Oh, sweet.
And Victor Santa Quiteria.
Man.
Now that's an indie studio.
Sweet. I bet they all have really cool beards.
Now, what I think is most interesting about this is that they all left the dev team for Last Guardian at Sony and now have a Tokyo-based indie game studio, and none of these people are Japanese.
They don't seem to be Japanese at all.
Maybe Rasmus Deguchi is half Japanese, but none of those other names are Japanese.
You mean Dahlberg? Isn't
Dahlberg, traditional Japanese name?
Yeah.
You write the kanji out for Dahlberg.
The Dahlberg clan,
So
does The Last Guardian sound familiar to you, listener?
It should. This is the most recent game by Fumito Ueda of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus fame. Ico, excuse me, I think is the actual pronunciation. I always just say Ico. Which he made at Sony. He, a couple years ago now, left Sony, but stated that he would still be finishing Last Guardian with them before he fully, nullified his ties to the company. That was a few years ago. Last year at E3, there was nothing about the game. I believe the year before that, there was also nothing about the game. This year, a lot of people expected to see something, mostly because there was a bunch of hubbub and rumor before E3 that the game had been canceled. To which, I can't can't believe I can't remember his name. One of the head guys at Sony, though, came out and flat out said, Last Guardian's not canceled. He came out on Twitter. And then I believe later said, we will tell people if we cancel it. Like, we will have a press release if we do cancel it. Yeah. And a lot of people, I think, myself included, took that as kind of a hopeful sign that maybe we would be seeing something at E3. Nothing. Not a single word of Last Guardian at E3. So with the director gone, people leaving the dev team, and still no sign of the game, I'm not optimistic as much as I want to be, because I would love to see it. But this is just getting more and more dire by the month at this point. And I really wish that they would just come out and say, we've canceled Last Guardian, if they're going to. Like, I just don't know. So anyway, these people who left and formed Friend or Foe Studio have experience on Last Guardian, Battlefield 3, Bionic Commando, Killzone, and more. And they want to self-fund and self-publish their titles as far as they possibly can.
Well, that's interesting, because then they definitely won't be beholden to anyone.
Right. I'm hoping it goes well for them. The games they're currently working on, if people are wondering, are Dangerous Men, which is an action arcade game based on 80s buddy cop movies.
I'm super interested.
I'm reading this from I'm quoting this from a Polygon article published on June 23rd. So this game centers on Dan and Dawn. Hey, I can get into this. And their goal to clear the city of the punk gang menace, which is primarily in development for iOS devices, with other platforms to be announced, which is kind of a shame, but I don't know. And then Vane, an open-world adventure game with an emphasis on atmosphere, mystery, and exploration. As a child with an odd ability, players unlock secrets of an unknown land through exploration, puzzle solving, and other features yet to be revealed. That is in development for PC, with other titles to be revealed at a later date. And both games' release dates are when it's done. As of right now. They have a little animated GIF of I'm Vane, I'm assuming. That looks pretty cool. As just a little snippet.
Yeah. It certainly looks atmospheric, I'll give it that.
It looks really atmospheric. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. I mean, that's definitely showing... That little thing of Vane definitely shows... kind of the impression of Fumito Ueda's games. That kind of desolate landscape and atmospheric elements and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's definitely something they probably took away from their time with Last Guardian, whether it's coming out or not. So, yeah. If you're like me, you'll keep crossing your fingers that we'll hear more about that game at some point, but it's not crossing all of your fingers. It's not looking good.
I'm trying to cross my toes right now. I got a couple of them.
So, change of pace, moving away from the gaming industry. You want to take us into this one next?
Okay, so this is
weird.
This is weird. Hey, so if you just tuned in and you're really confused as to why you're not hearing chiptune music, you're listening to Don't Copy That Floppy. We're a weekly video game news and review show. We talk about...
We're a video game thing.
Yeah, we talk about video games and how they relate to stuff and things about that.
You listen to chiptune music if you're on here. Chiptune music's in video games. You love it.
Don't you
love
know?
Video games.
Don't you know chiptune music's in video games?
Did you even know that? Look, you learned something already.
Anyway, we're Fridays from 7 till 8, and weekly, obviously.
Yep.
And we have a Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. Don't Copy That Floppy.
Yep. Let's get into more of that news.
So, okay, interesting article out of the Chicago Tribune was posted... Oh gosh, internet, don't stop working now. June 23rd.
June 23rd is when it was posted. It's fine. I got you covered.
And it's about Robert Morris University and how they are going to be...
In Chicago.
Yeah. And how they are going to be offering scholarships to League of Legends players.
League of Legends players.
Yeah,
they're offering 30 scholarships specifically.
Yeah,
30 scholarship slots for it.
Their budget that they're allocating is like $450,000.
Pretty good.
They're going to have like...
Divided 30 ways. It's $15,000.
Well, I assume that like the sum is going to like a coach or something.
They said they did not currently have a coach.
But I assume they will have one.
Of some sort. Yeah, at some point. But it hasn't been said yet.
So yeah,
so the day finally came. I never really wanted to talk about League of Legends on this podcast if I could avoid it, but here we are.
It's legitimate news.
It is.
So the guy in charge of the athletic scholarships department, and I think maybe just the athletic department.
Melcher.
Yeah, Kurt Melcher. He came to this. The idea came to him while he was online searching for video games. Oh, okay.
He was looking for them. He couldn't find any. He really wanted to play one, but he's just like, where'd all the video games go?
He didn't know where to...
Where are the video games, Google?
I don't understand. So anyway, he talks about how... Okay, let me quote some of his reasoning here.
Yeah.
It's a sports team.
That's the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, so this is a quote from him. It's a sports... It's a team sport. Yeah. There's strategy involved. You have to know your role in the game. Obviously, it's not cardiovascular in any way, but it's mental. There are elements that go into it that are like any other sport.
Which he's not wrong about.
No, he's not wrong at all. And this is a lot of the people who are pro esports.
This is the argument they
use.
I think it's very interesting to hear it from a college athletic director.
Definitely.
I never would have expected
I wouldn't have expected that at all.
This guy seems pretty with it in a way, because I feel like most athletic directors would just poo-poo this as a waste of time.
Because it's not seen as a traditional
sport. But he's saying, what he also says is he doesn't care what these kids are doing as long as they're involved in something that they love.
Yeah.
He says, and I quote, "I don't care if it's chess club or ice fishing. We want these kids to be engaged in something they love."
Which is a great perspective to take.
Absolutely.
And as someone in college administration, I'm shocked that he's that cool about stuff.
Seriously, way to be progressive, man. Yeah. He's also he wants to do these scholarships because he wants it to be an in for smart, talented kids who are not athletically inclined and may not have the financial means to go to college to get a college education.
Yeah, it said here that it was
which is also great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think it was the annual scholarship was $19,000 for a player, which it said covers about half of the tuition.
Which is good.
It is
good. That's a really, really helpful scholarship.
Yeah, assuming you get that and some other
financial aid or something,
you could be all set.
Yeah,
just be playing LOL all the time.
Yeah, so it's cool to see this because there's so many people who otherwise would not be able to afford college who get in on sports scholarships, be it football, basketball, baseball, anything. So it's nice to see this as something else for people who aren't athletically inclined.
Now, one of the things when I was first reading this and I heard his quote, "I don't care whether it's chess club or ice fishing," I thought, "Oh, that's interesting. So are you offering varsity scholarships for chess club and ice fishing?" Because the reason why a lot of sports or games that are not considered sports, like chess, the reason why nobody gets chess scholarships is because there's no money in chess, right?
There's no pro chess league
Yeah.
that goes around and sells out stadiums.
Although apparently there are big chess tournaments that like people go and watch.
Yeah,
but they're not for college.
But then the interesting part about that is that those things exist for esports.
They do, and yeah, because then I read a little farther into the article, and I was because what does it always come down to? It comes down to the money.
Absolutely.
All about the money.
Yeah, that's what professional sports is all about.
Yeah, even college sports that aren't professional.
Because college sports is to get into the professional sports.
Yeah,
that's the it's a training ground for the pro leagues.
So one of the things this article cites is big companies are also jumping on the bandwagon as sponsors or tournament organizers. This month, ESPN's X Games awarded its first esports gold medal to suburban Chicago-based Optic Gaming. Mm-hmm. So that means we've got big money sponsors that are going to throw money at esports. So that's because, with college sports, you've got your guys who go in for your football scholarship, and the college is giving them a lot of money to play for them and to go to the school, and the idea is that that's an investment for the school because they will see when these guys go out and play, they will make money for the college or the university. And because these big sponsors we're seeing are jumping on board for esports, I guess that means that at least this guy is seeing, like, hey, there's money to be made here. We can totally help finance the college with esports.
Right.
Which is cool.
And that gives him a lot more that gives Melcher a lot more leverage to get the college to do this.
Definitely.
As well, because that makes a pretty convincing case if you just show people the info.
Now, since that happened, or since he announced this, there's been, thousands of people who have been like, hey, no, I want to be on that team.
Yeah. Yeah, they've gotten a lot. It hasn't, I don't think they've gotten everything finalized yet, though.
Yeah, they're still like, whoa, guys, hold on. We don't even have a coach yet. And we can give you a coach, because obviously esports, coaches.
Yep.
That's how it works. But no, this also reminded me of the I believe it was League of Legends, that big tournament that they held in, Los Angeles a little while ago.
I don't follow esports enough to know the specifics.
That's the thing, I don't follow them either, but I had heard about this because it was, such a big deal because so many people had went. They had sold out, a giant stadium.
Right. And I know some of our friends watched it, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have some friends who play League of Legends. And I'm pretty sure they watched that.
Those two. They definitely did.
Yeah, they definitely did.
they were like, listen, I gotta watch this live stream of League of Legends. Hold on. And we're like, dude, we're at a movie night right now. What are you doing?
Yeah. It's not great. So yeah. That's... I guess I never... All I really have to say about this ultimately is I never would have expected it.
Yeah, neither would I. And it's a brave new world.
Yeah,
right?
Now that it's happening, I'm kind of like, oh, cool.
This is different.
This is different. I hope this catches on. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't see a reason why it wouldn't, because this kind of thing's only going to get bigger.
Also, what's funny is, there's all these reports that have been circulating that I've been reading about in the last year that are about how football scholarship kids and sometimes basketball scholarship kids are some of the most infamously underperforming in terms of academics.
Yeah.
And part of this is because teachers are very, very lenient.
Yeah, they can slide by because
they know they make the college a lot of money, so the administration's probably yeah, you should pass these kids.
Slide.
But also part of it is just because they're training all the time, so they don't really have time to study or write papers or whatnot. And those are two really major problems. But then I think an esports league, yeah, there's a much higher chance that those kids are all gonna be really great students in addition to that stuff.
As long as they actually do their work instead of just playing video games all day.
Well, that's they're still susceptible to that.
There is still a danger here,
but they're definitely exercising their mind.
Yes. I wanted to say some League of Legends thing right there. But I don't know any.
I just don't know anything about it.
I'm sorry, everyone. I let you down. So that's cool.
Robert Morris University probably going to be leading the way, I think, in this.
So let's talk about one of my favorite things to talk about. Platinum Games.
You do love Platinum Games.
They've been in the news a lot lately. I adore Platinum Games. They're my favorite. So Platinum Games has been announced as the studio making the new Legend of Korra video game. For people who don't know what the Legend of Korra is, it is the sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was a very good and very successful cartoon on Nickelodeon several years ago, and a very bad and very unsuccessful live-action movie by M. Night Shyamalan a few years ago.
We just try and pretend that movie never happened.
Yeah. So if you've only seen the movie, I'm sorry. If you've seen the TV show, get excited. Because Activision acquired the license to make this Korra game, and they needed to find a studio to work on it. And they approached Platinum Games, who are known for a lot of action titles. Most notably, the reasons they were approached for this are Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I'm going to say that subtitle because I love it. It's the corniest. Activision producer Robert Conkley said, well, often when you look at Platinum's games, the action is very smooth, very flashy, and very cool. Basically, anytime they've done action, there's a specific Platinum style which people are very appreciative of. That's what we're hoping to bring to the table. And I gotta agree completely with this guy, because no other developer right now makes action games in quite the same way that Platinum does. These guys know how to do it. Metal Gear Rising was actually a similar situation, because that was being developed by the usual Metal Gear team at Konami, but it was meant to be a third-person action game, and it did not come together. Which is actually why it ended up being brought to Platinum. It was basically brought there with the mindset of, here you go, guys, please fix it. And they fixed it and made a fantastic game. So if anybody knows action games, it's Platinum. This article does go into some detail that a demo was shown of the game, and it apparently holds up to what people expect from the studio. You can switch between all of Korra's different bending abilities. So all 4, water, earth, fire, and air, are all available. You can switch between them on the fly, even mid-combo. Nice. And all of them have entirely different attributes and combo potential and ranges, strengths, weaknesses, everything. Sounds pretty good to me.
There's also a free-running feature.
There's a free-running feature as a mini-game where you can run around on your polar bear dog.
Amazing.
And do stuff. And there's also, you can play in the Legend of Korra show. People who've seen it will know what this is, but there's a pro bending league, which is basically a sporting event with 3-on-3 teams where you basically just try and knock each other out of a ring with, limited bending abilities. That's going to be a mini-game in there as well. And the story is taking place between Season 2 and the soon-to-be-airing Season 3 of the series. That's getting started really soon. I also wanted to just cite a specific thing. Conky told Polygon the developers at Platinum Games were able to achieve a 45-second-long combo on an enemy who had unlimited health. So this game's got a combo system.
Seems like it.
Pretty good.
Maybe some juggling.
There's going to be some juggling. They also just talked about getting the controls down, making sure it's responsive and it feels right when you're switching between styles. Also, they did all of their own sound work for the game. They did not take stuff from the TV series.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they created their own sounds based on the sounds on the show, but they wanted to make sure that rather than just sounding like the show, they wanted to make sure that the sounds were visceral and had a lot of impact for the player in a video game context. So they're definitely putting in the work. The guy who's saying this stuff from Platinum Games is Kurooka, who is one of their producers. I don't know if he's the director of the game. I don't think he is. I'm actually not sure exactly what part of the Platinum team is making it, but I have faith. So that's a very cool thing. If you're a fan of Platinum Games or a fan of Korra, or like me, a fan of both, this is something to watch out for.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be on Xbox 360, Xbone, PS3, and PS4. And I believe that's all. But that's pretty good. So even if you don't have the current gen consoles, you still can play.
Yeah. One of the things I've always felt about Platinum Games is that they have a hard time finding an audience, partially because a lot of their stuff comes out on the Wii or the Wii U, right. And because I think some of their...
Most of it is not advertised very well.
Yeah, and a lot of them are their independent IPs might not be super accessible to people.
They're also just difficult and kind of niche titles most of the time as well, so casual players are turned off from that.
But their gameplay is always really rock solid.
Absolutely.
So what I'm thinking with this is because they're on a bunch of different mainstream consoles, and because they have an IP that already so many people
and well-known.
Are going to look into them for, they're going to be able to showcase their great gameplay and mechanics.
Right. So this is a good break for them, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Because once people play this, see how good of a game it is, just in general, it'll get them more interested in other Platinum IPs. Maybe more people will go back and pick up some of their older titles, or at least look forward to their upcoming games. Yeah. We know Scalebound's on the way, Bayonetta 2's on the way. Although Bayonetta 2 may come out before this, the only date for this is 2014, so sometime later this year. It's been in development for a bit already, it seems. So they're planning on getting it out by the end of the year.
Cool.
Yeah. Very exciting. Another little game announcement that there's not as much information about. Little tidbit for the PlayStation 3. We got a Godzilla game coming up. Bandai Namco is making a PS3 exclusive Godzilla game. It's due out in the winter in Japan, and that's all we know about release date. And it's an action game which will have Godzilla just fighting other monsters. So that sounds like exactly what I would want.
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's perfect. His character model for the game was actually scanned in from Bandai's SH Monster Arts, which is an action figure line model of Godzilla from the newest movie. So they scanned in an action figure to make his 3D model, which is cool. According to this article on Gematsu from the 23rd, the game is currently 40% complete.
Okay.
So, fine, sure, whatever.
Sure.
Awesome. So yeah, if you like Godzilla, keep an eye out, because I know Godzilla's video game history has been spotty at best.
At best.
But we might get something good about this.
Yeah.
Out of this. Yeah.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. So, I suppose it's time for me to do my game review. So,
This is the weekly review, everyone.
This is a weekly review. We alternate, so Lex will be doing a review next week.
Last week I did Chronicles of Mystara, the best game ever.
So, the game I'm going to be doing this week came out this week.
Came out yesterday, didn't it?
Came out yesterday, yes. It is Valiant Hearts: The Great War by Ubisoft, specifically by their Ubi Art team, using the Ubi Art framework, which is what they used for Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. This is a puzzle adventure game inspired by letters written during World War I, and it's about 4 characters on the battlefield of World War I, helping a young German soldier find love in a story about survival, sacrifice, and friendship. I read that off the Wikipedia article. I'm not that poetic. But that's pretty much the game. So going into this game, all I really knew about it was that at E3 they showed a trailer that made me cry every time I watched it. I've watched it about 5 times now, and it still makes me cry. So the trailer grabbed me immediately. I was kind of taken in by the art style. Just the idea of the game, the setting, everything, really appealed to me. So I picked it up. It's $15. You can get it on the Xbox or PlayStation. It's an arcade download or PlayStation Network download. And I'd like to start by saying it's absolutely worth the money. Because for that $15, you get... it took me about 6 or 7 hours to beat the whole thing. I went through it all in a single sitting. Because I wanted to be able to review it for this for the podcast. I was never once bored, or it never felt tedious. It goes along at a good pace, and I didn't get all the collectibles and stuff in the game, so there's definitely a little bit of playtime left in there for me. So I say you could get 8 or 9 hours out of it for your $15, which for the current game length of the day is pretty good.
Yeah, for an arcade game,
absolutely,
that's great.
Worth it. Yeah, and it's It's also a very well-crafted game. Clearly a lot of thought and effort was put into it. So, yeah, the basic story, you play as 4 different soldiers, all from different countries during World War I. There's a Belgian field medic, an old Frenchman who enlists, a young German soldier who is conscripted against his will, and an American who chooses to fight at the beginning of the war. In reality, America didn't join the war until the last year of it, I believe, in 1918. But there were a few American soldiers, so this guy joins also of his own free will for very personal reasons. So these 4 all have their own little stories, which all become intertwined as you play through the game. The game starts in 1914 at the outbreak of the war, and continues up through 1917, I believe, so right before America joined in. They are also accompanied by Walt, who is a German medical dog, who every character gets a chance to interact with, and you use him to help you solve puzzles throughout the game as well. He's a capable little guy. You can pet him with the X button when he stands next to you, and it's the best. But the whole game, the art style, if you're familiar with Rayman Origins, the art style is this gorgeous 2D, almost painted or drawn-looking cartoony style. But they really went the extra mile in giving you this sense of scale and depth with it, because while all the characters' environments are more or less 2D, you always get these sweeping shots of the battlefield behind you as you run along this 2D plane. And there are things happening in the background. There will be people, soldiers in machine gun nests, firing at you from the background into the foreground, and it just gives you this great sense of perspective, and really lends to the fact feeling like you're on this big battlefield. It's just this endless battlefield of trenches and everything. The story is excellent. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. Every character has their own little plot arc, all of which get resolved, and all of which come together in the end in a very nice way. The gameplay is very simple, but very effective. You're solving puzzles. There's no real fighting in the game. It's actually surprisingly non-violent for a war game, which is interesting. I don't think you ever fire a single gun.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes, I was really surprised. You do throw like grenades at a few points, but it's only ever to blow open walls or barricades. You also fire artillery guns several times throughout the game. Actually, there is one part. There is a part where you drive a tank, and you have to like shoot down planes and blow up bunkers and stuff. But that's the closest you ever get. The game is very light on its player, like the violence the player inflicts. However, it is at the same time fairly gruesome because there are actually scenes where there are literally just piles of dead bodies everywhere, including a sequence where you actually hide behind them from machine gun fire. So the game gets very dark and very brutal when it has to. Has very light moments as well. Based on the trailer, I expected myself to be sad through a lot more of it, but I actually did not get super emotional until the very, very end, where it really got me. And I'm not going to be saying any spoilers here, so you'll have to play it and find out. But it does, when it finally all hits you at the end, it hits really strong, but in like the best way.
So yeah, that was my big question about this game. Yeah. So as when we saw the E3 trailer,
I know you had some questions about the art style matching up with the.
That was what I was worried about, because the art style reminds me of like Rayman a little bit, because and the way characters moved.
Right, and it does work very well in the actual game, though.
See, that's good, because that's like a line I was worried they weren't going to be able to walk.
No, they really got that perfect, I have to say. And it's animated enough so there's scenes when the soldiers are like partying at the camp or something, and they're all super animated and bouncing around, but then it totally changes when you're fighting. Everyone is frightened, like huddled back, and they're very expressive. So it really it sets the mood perfectly for whatever part of the game you happen to be in. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way after seeing what they did with it. It was really great.
So what I want from you, instead of a score as to how good the game was,
yes,
I want a score from you as to how sad the game was and how emotional was it. I don't want a number, but I want a cultural reference. So I'm going to say the lowest. I'm going to say the lowest is like swallowing your gum, because you're like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. That sucks. And the worst is like the end of Terminator 2, when he's got that thumbs up.
Okay, I can do
all those
this.
Tears.
I can do this. So the entirety of the game up until the ending, up until literally the final chapter of the game, is anywhere between swallowing your gum and seeing one of those ASPCA commercials with the sad animals.
Okay, yeah.
It ranges between there. The ending of the game, the last chapter, is the ending of Terminator 2.
All right.
It's like, ooh, ooh. They lay it on thick. And after everything you've been through, it hits. It absolutely hits. So from that perspective, they nailed it. The other thing I do want to bring up is I don't think the game was perfect. There were a couple puzzles that I found to be a little bit obtuse, but nothing super bad. I didn't get stuck for very long. The game actually has a great hint system as well.
Nice.
It's timed, so the longer you take to figure out a puzzle, more hints will appear, and you have the option of looking at them. So it doesn't give you access to them immediately. It makes you try and figure it out on your own.
It's a good way to do that, yeah.
Yeah, it was very well thought out. I did use the hints a couple times. I won't pretend I didn't. The main gripe I actually had with the game was this character, and I'll finish up right after this, this character named Baron von Dorf, who is a German general in the game, who is kind of painted as your villain at the start of the game, for at least the first 2/3, I'd say. He's tied to most of the characters in some way, especially the American soldier, who's like out to get him, and he is kind of like the central focus point of what you're after for a while. Now, my problem with Baron von Dorf is that he is a comic book villain. He is extravagantly evil.
All that evil laughter.
He's just laughing evilly all the time. His hat has a skull on it. You fight him in a couple Metal Slug-esque boss fights throughout the game, which to me felt very out of place. They were fun. They were a lot of fun from a gameplay perspective, but with the rest of the tone of the game, especially what Baron von Dorf is responsible for in the game, it's entirely too cartoonish.
Yeah.
And knowing that they could do it more seriously, because they do in several other segments of the game, like segments with the gas attacks happening and things like that, I knew that they could get more serious, so it really irked me that they did not with this villain.
And you had said that this was a character who was not in the original stories.
I don't believe so. I mean, the whole game was based loosely off of letters sent from World War I from the front. I don't think this guy was real.
Okay.
I don't know my World War I history enough to know that for a fact, but I would be pretty positive that this guy is not based on anybody real.
Okay.
He is an entirely fabricated character. So yeah, he was my biggest gripe, but overall, 2 thumbs up. Absolutely worth your $15 if you're looking for a decently lengthy, really game with a ton of effort put into it that'll pull at your heartstrings a bit. Oh, and it'll teach you a lot about World War I. There's tons of little fun facts in there that you get every chapter that explain what's happening in the war at that time.
Good history lesson.
Yeah, it's really cool. I liked it a lot. And you can pick up these collectible items that are things like dog tags, pieces of clothing, photos, letters, things like that also you have little descriptions that tell you more about just the time period, how medical things worked back then, how military things worked back then, just the general lifestyles of people back then. So it's very good. It gives you a lot of perspective on everything. So, all in all, great job from Ubisoft. Really, really excellent arcade game. It's a benchmark for what arcade games should be, I think.
Nice.
So, Valiant Hearts, The Great War, check it out.
Excellent. All right, so now we're just about out of time.
Yep.
In fact, we're a little bit over, but I still want to mention some of the stuff that's coming out.
Some quick blurbs.
Next week.
Yeah, there's nothing big I want to talk about. There was one you wanted to talk about, really.
What was it?
Which was Guacamelee, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn.
Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn on July 1st.
Don't buy it.
If you care about Dynasty Warriors, get it, I guess, but I hope you don't.
It's going to be horrible.
It's going to be really mediocre.
Child of Light is getting a port to the Vita, which is
nice. Yep.
But yeah, so Guacamelee
Super Turbo Championship Edition
is coming out for everything on the 1st and the 2nd.
Well, 360, Xbone, and Wii U. It's already out on Sony stuff.
Well, on the 1st is coming out on the PS4. And then on the 2nd it's coming out.
So it is.
PS3.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Yes.
That's a super cool indie game. I've seen a lot of cool footage of it. So
it's very cool.
Definitely worth
luchador wrestler action.
Yeah. So definitely check it out. But I don't know. Sniper Elite's coming out on everything.
It's already come out on some things.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Or has it? I don't know. I don't care.
Sniper Elite 3, no one cares.
Goodbye, everybody. We're going to give you back your chiptune music now.
You've been listening to Don't Copy That Floppy.
Chipbit Radio on chipbit.net.
You can listen on the website. You can download the playlist file. It's
great. Go to Facebook and like us, for Pete's sake.
Please.
Goodbye, everybody. Good night and good luck.
And remember,
don't copy that floppy.